Okay, everyone. In this video, we're going to talk about making the notes for your research project, the 12 handwritten notes. Remember, they are handwritten, they're not typed, that you're going to have to turn in. So you have three different sources for this particular project. And so that means that you want to try to take around 4 notes per article. Okay, so 3 sources, 3 articles, I should say. You're going to take around 4 notes per article. That will add up to 12. Okay, technically, you can take more notes than 12 if you'd like, but you can't take any fewer. Okay. One of the biggest things I'm going to be looking at when I grade these is the number. So you've got to have 12 quality notes. It can't just be things that you've just written down that have no purpose. They need to be quality, good notes to help you. All right, so let's talk about what that means. Okay, before you begin, make sure you read your article. Okay, you have to make sure that the articles, all 3 of them, match up with what you're trying to say in your paper. By now, you should have a rough idea of what you're wanting to talk about. So, 2 of your articles should describe the problem and its causes. The third article should talk about organizations that are trying to help, or people who are trying to help improve or solve your problem. Okay, you need to make sure that you read all 3 of your articles and that they fit your paper and the assignment. Okay. You also need to make sure that you're noting important information. If you're not finding any good information in your articles, that means you need to go back and find a better article. Okay, even if you've done your citations, so be it. You don't want to ruin your entire project just by being complacent about your articles that you're using in the research paper. So, because this paper is a little bit fast, it's meant to be fast. We're gonna only write the 12 notes. Okay. Again, you're welcome to do more. And again, one more time, try to keep these even. If you do 5 notes from one source and 3 from another, I won't get too bent out of shape, for instance. But I shouldn't see a situation where, like right here, you have 8 notes from one of your sources and like 2 from the other 2. That's a problem. Okay, that's not going to end very well in your paper, very likely. The next thing, you need to treat this just like if you were preparing for a test. The test is going to be the overall paper. So if you're not taking good notes, you're probably not going to do well on the test. So just think about that. Okay. So make sure that you're starting off by just finding good direct quotes from your article to start with. And then when you get ready to write your paper, you may want to go back and paraphrase, and we'll kind of talk about what that means later. But I would start by pulling direct information from your articles first. Okay, one final thing. When you're looking for this information, you're not trying to look for things that are already quoted or in quotation marks, okay? You are quoting the author, okay? So when I say quotes, I mean you are quoting the author. Anything he or she says can be quoted and used in the paper if it's cited correctly. You are not looking for quotation marks within your source. That information is likely dialogue. It could be useful, but it may not be. And typically you have to write about dialogue differently in your paper than you would just a direct quote. All right, so let's get down to the steps. So on your piece of paper, you need to look at the top of the line, and I would recommend you use 3 pieces of notebook paper for this assignment, 1 for each article, okay? So in the top line, you want to write the first thing. This is in the left-hand corner. This is section A. Basically, you're just telling me what the note should be about. So if your note is describing statistics about your problem, then write statistics. If your note is talking about a specific issue within your problem, then write that just 1 or 2 words about what the note is about. This will only help you, and I would recommend you doing this for each one of your notes. Now, some of them could be combined under one topic. And again, I'm not talking about the topic of your paper. So, for instance, if you're writing about the flu, for instance, you wouldn't say all of the topics of every single note you're taking is the flu. So think about, like, it could be statistics about the flu. It could be vaccines, it could be complications with the flu, it could be medical concerns, whatever it may be, okay? So think about what the specific note is about for this part. So let's look at our example here. So from the article I showed you before in the previous video, you might look at like this is actually a part that's referring to Thomas Jefferson. This is not the author right here in this top left corner. This is referring to one of our famous American presidents, Thomas Jefferson. Okay, and this is so this note that we have right here is actually reflecting him. So that's what this person has written here in the left corner. Step 2, this is section B. You are either going to write the author's last name or the first 2 words from the source citation. So this will either be the author's last name, so let's say it's John Smith, so you would write from Smith, or it would be the first 2 words from the source citation. So let's say your article title is the flu in South Africa. So you would just simply write the flu, okay, from the flu, all right? This is going to be very, very important later. This will deal with your in-text citations when we start writing the paper. The whole point of this part of the assignment is to help you start structuring your paper. And so everything that you're doing, every step that you're doing here is only helping you do that. So this is very important. So let's look at how this person did it. Look right here, from Newton Small. Remember our author from that article I showed you? His last name was Newton Small. So from Newton Small, that's his last name, okay? So if it's not a last name and it's an article title, you put the first 2 words, okay? So just remember that. Back this part of the video up. If you don't remember or you get confused, back it up. I explain it again. It's very simple, okay? Step 3, this is section C. This should be the easiest part of this. I'm not even going to spend a lot of time discussing it. Just go ahead and write NP on each one of your, on the top right of each one of your notes. The reason why is that it means no pages. On the internet, there are no pages. I know that they talk about web pages and you may even have to click like numbers and stuff like that. That's actually not a real physical page, okay? So we're not going to even refer to that as a page. So you would type write n.p. And at the top of each one of your notes. So this should be the heading for each one of your notes. Now, some of them you could possibly combine. I would recommend doing one for each set of, each note that you do, okay? Again, sometimes you might be able to combine them, but for the most part, you may have to do it like this, okay? Now, step 4, this is really the most important part. This is where you want to write the exact quote from a text or a paraphrase from a text. I recommend you start with the exact quote. Okay, you should write it down as the quote appears from the text exactly. Okay, you cannot take liberties with this. Now, you can shorten it up some. Like if you have like a really long sentence and you just need a key part of it, you technically can cut that off and just put quotation marks around it. Just be careful when you do that because you don't want to lose information that you need, okay? Don't worry about, well, this is a lot of work, this is a lot of work. You have plenty of time. This is not something that I'm demanding that you get done in one day. This is something you have time to do, but you just need to take your time with it and make sure you do a good job on this. So if you're planning to simply shape your thoughts from the text, you may write the note in your own words for this part, okay? Again, be very careful with that. I would recommend just pulling a direct quote. So let's look at this example from the article. To prevent every danger which might arise to American freedom by continuing too long in office, the members of Continental Congress. If you remember that article that I'm pulling this from, it was about term limits, so that's what that's referring to. You don't have to worry about that. The point is, this is what this person said. This would be a really good point to maybe include in my paper. So I'm going to write this down as one of my notes. So you would write this note down, and then you've got something from your article that you can go back to later as being a key thing, and you might want to use it in your paper when we get to the writing part. Okay? Now, last part here, the last important part, you should include a comment about the quote. This information will be completely created from your own thoughts, okay? You'll use this information to follow the quoted material. I expect to see a comment with all 12 of the quotes that you pull out of your articles, all 12. So 12 quotes from the articles, 12 of your personal comments, okay? Now you